There was a guy who took a night shift job watching over a cemetery just outside a small American town. The kind of place people only mentioned when they were giving directions and never when they were talking about home. It wasn't historic or famous, just old enough to feel forgotten, and far enough from the highway that the silence felt intentional. The pay was better than it should have been. The hours were simple, and the only reason given for the opening was that the last guard had quit without notice, leaving his uniform behind like he planned to come back but never did. When he arrived on his first night, the iron gates were already open, even though the sign clearly stated they were supposed to be locked after sunset. The fog sat low across the ground, thick but controlled, like it knew exactly how far it was allowed to go. The rules on the paper weren't written like company policy. They were written like reminders. The first one said he should never count the graves, even if he got bored, because the number wasn't consistent, and noticing the change meant something had already noticed him. As the night went on, the fog began to thicken, and the rules started making more sense than he wanted them to. One warned that if he ever saw a grave that looked freshly disturbed, he was not to inspect it, photograph it, or mark it down, but to return to the shack immediately, lock the door, and turn off the lights until he heard a church bell in the distance, even though the nearest church had burned down years ago. Time didn't behave normally in the cemetery. His phone lost signal. His watch stopped updating. The moon stayed in the same position for hours, and the fog began rising slowly, like it was measuring him. Near the bottom of the page, the handwriting grew heavier, pressed deeper into the paper, like the person writing it had been running out of time. The final rule said that if he made it through the night and felt calm instead of afraid, he should not come back the next evening, because the cemetery rewarded familiarity by making it permanent. When morning finally came, the fog lifted all at once. The gates were closed behind him, and the cemetery looked smaller than it had the night before, almost harmless. He felt relieved, lighter than he expected, and that was when he realized the paper wasn't in his pocket anymore, because it was already back on the desk, folded neatly, waiting for the next person. If the story stayed with you, if it made the quiet around you feel a little heavier than usual, consider subscribing to The Real Graveyard and leave a comment if you honestly think you could survive even one night working that cemetery.